Lance wants something a bit meatier.
Meteor.
That was over way too soon.
Hear that, Noah? Lance wants something a bit meatier.
Over way too soon.
Hear that, Noah? Lance wants something a bit meatier. Hear that, Noah? Lance wants something a bit meatier. Hear that, Noah? Lance wants something a bit meatier. Hear that, Noah? Lance wants something a bit meatier. Lance wants something a bit meatier. Lance wants something a bit meatier. Something a bit meatier.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Just the Gems. I'm Brandon, and this is what I'm playing. Yes, that does mean I have finally finished AI, the Somnium Files, the Nirvana Initiative. I give it like a B+. Very good game. Very good game. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about what I am playing. Present tense. And that is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Whoa. I'm very excited to talk about Xenoblade 3. I have been a Xeno fan since the earliest days of Xeno fandom. Xenogears was my first PlayStation game ever, and I loved it. Just loved every moment of it. Even the second disc where people just sit around in chairs and talk about what happened instead of actually getting to experience it yourself. It was a huge pivotal moment for me when a few years later, Xenosaga was announced as a 6-part epic series that was going to tell in probably a slightly altered form due to the change of publishers. A grand space epic that the original Xenogears promised to be. And then that 6-part epic was cut down to 3, and I shed a few tears for the story that we lost. And then for a long time, the Xeno fandom kind of went to sleep until the Wii came along. Now, I had a Wii, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't get super into the more hardcore games on the Wii, because I was also a PlayStation boy, and there were plenty more games of the sort that I liked, i.e. JRPGs and their ilk, on the PlayStation platforms than on the Nintendo platforms at the time. Now, I didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. I didn't know that Tetsuya Takahashi, who was the main force behind the Xeno series, had started this new company called Monolith Soft, and that Nintendo now owned essentially a majority of it, making it a first-party studio. Didn't know anything about it until Xenoblade Chronicles was announced. Now, I was really excited to play this game, and I never did. So I don't know what was going on in my life around then. I guess I was newly an adult and trying to find my way, and I guess in that sense I really lost my way, didn't I? Well, now I'm back to my true calling, my true purpose, playing video games all day and talking about them. So when I started collecting video games, I knew that I needed to make the Xenoblade games a big focus of my collection early on. So I picked up Xenoblade Chronicles 3D for the 3DS, because at the time, the original Xenoblade Chronicles for Wii had shot way up in price, well over $100. I couldn't justify that purchase, but the 3DS version was still relatively new, relatively cheap, picked it up. Started playing it, couldn't figure it out. It was too complicated for me. I don't know. I'm not the brightest bulb in the pack. And I just eventually had to put it down and move on to something else. Now, when the Switch Definitive Edition was announced, that was really exciting for me, because here it is, this game that I really wanted to get into and couldn't, revamped, put on the TV where, in my opinion, a game of this scale really belongs. And I can enjoy it there, and they still have the option of handheld mode if you want, for grinding or whatever it is you want to do. It's there for you if you need it, but I can play it on the TV. That's all I need. So I made sure to pick that up, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, got the physical edition of Torn in the Golden Country, and I was set. So I binged my way through the entire Xenoblade Chronicles saga all in one go, including a brief side quest into Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U. I don't know, I feel like that game gets kind of a bad rap, like it's this kind of underdog in the Xenoblade series. And yeah, putting aside the fact that like the characters and the story in general aren't that great, it's just got one of the most amazing open worlds I've ever seen in a game. Like, I can play a PlayStation 5 game and not feel as much awe as I feel flying through the world of Xenoblade Chronicles X. Anyway, We're here to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 3, so let's talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. One of the first things I noticed as I got into Xenoblade 3 is that its systems are much easier for me to understand. Is it possible that I'm smarter now? Almost certainly not. So apparently, in the years that have gone by since the original Xenoblade Chronicles, the feedback they've gotten as a development team, they've become better at explaining their very complicated systems in their games to the player. And for that, I'm really appreciative, because I could not for the life of me figure out how the chain attacks worked in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I was just hitting buttons. If I tried to tell you otherwise, I was lying to you. I was just hitting buttons like a maniac. Also, I think I like the battle system now. I have never honestly been a huge fan of the Xenoblade battle system in general. It's the MMO style fighting that I'm just not crazy about. It feels a little too passive, like it wants to be an action role-playing game, but it's a little bit too scared to fully jump in. So I struggled my way through the original Xenoblade. I was a little bit better at Xenoblade X. When 2 came along, there were enough changes that I felt like I was able to play competently, let's say. And then finally, when Torn of the Golden Country came out, that was the first time that I really felt like it started to click for me. It wasn't 100% of the way there yet, but I was really starting to kind of feel it. Of course, that was a shorter DLC type game, so there wasn't as much meat on the bone.
Something a bit meatier.
But now with Xenoblade 3, I feel like they've really nailed it down. The class system or job system, whatever you want to call it, is really great because it lets you experiment with a lot of different classes without having to change the character you're controlling, which is great for a guy like me who always picks Mario in Mario Kart. Like, I just want to be the main character and I don't want to have to think about it. Don't make me pick who I need to be. It's just asking too much. So the battles are great. The battles are fantastic. I actually love running around and fighting random mob battles. It's tremendous. Yes, the repeating voices are annoying. This has always been a problem in the Xenoblade games.
Now it's right time.
It's not really a problem for me in battles. Like, I can hear Senna say that she's lost the enemy for like 5 million times in the middle of the battle, and that's fine because it's communicating useful gameplay information to me in the midst of all the mass chaos that's happening on the screen. But the after battle lines, look, I don't know. I feel like I'm not the first person that has brought this up. It has to be a pretty common refrain, right? You have to give us more than 2 or 3 lines and then have them play over and 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 over the course of a 150-hour game. You have to. Or you have to give us the option to turn those off. Now, I don't want to turn all the voices off. I'd love to hear that. I think the actors do a phenomenal job, and I'll talk about the characters more in a little bit here. Actors do a phenomenal job. I want to be able to hear the actors perform their roles. I don't want to hear Senna asking Mio if she saw her and Mio saying, "You looked beautiful," or whatever, 5 million times after a battle. It's not necessary. So give me the option to turn those off, or just go nuts and record 10,000 possible lines and make sure that they don't loop until every single one of them has been heard. This is my challenge to you, Monolith Soft. Takahashi, let's make it happen. I believe in you. The characters, like I alluded to, are freaking great. I love every single one of them. I think the way that this game introduces the characters to us is really brilliant. So you spend a lot of time at the beginning of the game with 3 characters, right? You've got Noah, you've got Lance, you've got Uni. And you see their friendship, their relationship develop through flashbacks to when they're younger. You see them on the battlefield together. You get a lot of in-depth character study with them as a group. And that's great. That's kind of what you expect from the beginning of a role-playing game. The characters, if it's Japanese, they're probably childhood friends, and they're going to go through some trials together. And it's great. It's wonderful. Then, a couple of hours into the game, you're introduced to another group of 3 characters who have their own history together, but you don't explicitly know that history the same way that you know the history of the first 3. So what Xenoblade 3 is doing is it's kind of taking 2 drastically different approaches to characterization, and it's meshing them together. It's giving us characters with a lot of backstory and relationships that we've seen develop, and characters that we don't know a ton about in terms of their backstory, but we can still observe their relationship and infer things about their relationship and their history from watching them interact with each other. So we get to see the inside jokes that come with a group that's known each other for a long time, while at the same time getting to know these people as if they're brand new people in our lives, which they are for our initial 3 characters. I love it. I just love it. So good. So good. I also love the villains. I'm only maybe 15 hours into the game, so I've got, I'm sure, a long way to go, and they could still drop the ball, of course, but there is just something about these villains. They are so goofy. They are just goofy as heck, and I am here for it. Like, these guys, it's the definition of scene chewing, and I love it. It's fantastic. I really love it. The world itself is... It's beautiful in a sort of aging console hardware sort of way. Like, I'm not as blown away by the graphics of Xenoblade 3 as I was when I first saw Xenoblade 2, for example, but they are still a step up from there. So, they get the job done, and things look good. The music is chef's kiss, just gorgeous. Of course, anything that has Yasunori Mitsuda's name on it, I'm going to be first in line for, because he's my guy. He's my guy. Love him. Love him so much. Favorite video game composer. Probably my favorite composer of all time, without category. Favorite composer of all time, Yasunori Mitsuda. I feel like I could just keep going and going and tell you all the things that I love about this game so far, but I am still really early on. So I guess there's the possibility that all of this could change. The feelings that I have about the battle system, maybe it gets old. Maybe there are even more complex systems down the line that I haven't even encountered yet, and they're going to throw me for a loop and ruin my enjoyment to some extent. I don't know. If my feelings do drastically change over the course of the next 80, 90, 100 hours, however long it takes me to beat this game, I don't know. I didn't keep track on the previous one, so I don't actually know how long these games run for me. I know some people are like 150 hours. That's never true for me. I'm not spending 150 hours on a JRPG. It's literally never happened for me. I beat the main story, and that's just about it. So anyway, if my feelings do drastically change, I'll do a follow-up and let you know how and why. But if you don't hear from me again on Xenoblade 3, I think you can probably put it in the running for my game of the year. Elden Ring is there too. But everybody's going to vote for Elden Ring. Everyone's going to vote it. Xenoblade needs somebody in its corner, and that's going to be me. I want to thank you for watching. Ask you to please like the video, please subscribe. And until next time, bye.